Hello, welcome to Aloes, not just Vera. Today we're going to talk about all the different types of aloes out there and how to grow them. First off, the aloe is a genus of plants containing about 500 species of flowering succulent plants. The most widely known species, obviously, is aloe vera or the true aloe, as most of us have come to know aloe from this aloe vera. It is the source of the cult and is cultivated as the standard source of aloe vera for the pharmaceutical industry. Such species as aloe furrow are also cultivated and harvested for the wild and from the wild for pharmaceutical purposes. Aloe is a member of the broader family of the Liliaceae, which is the same as onion and true lilies. The genus is native to tropical and southern Africa, Madagascar, Jordan, and the Arabian Peninsula, and various islands in the Indian Ocean. You can see in that map there, Madagascar is on the right side there of Africa and down south a little bit, closer to southern Africa. And then if you look at the map, it's native all the way up into the Arabian Peninsula, because it has a pretty good swath of native habitat there. A few species have also become naturalized in other parts and regions of the world, including the Mediterranean, India, Australia, North and South America, and the Hawaiian Islands. Anywhere where they have a year without frost or without barely any frost, aloes can actually survive. They don't like frost, but sometimes a light frost may not kill them, especially in protected areas. A little bit about the plant. Most aloes have a rosette of large, thick, fleshy leaves, and those thick, fleshy leaves is what allows it to hold moisture whenever it does rain. That way they can use that moisture whenever they need it when it's dry. The flowers are tubular, frequently yellow, orange, pink, or red. They're also in dense clusters and they're pendant, which means they hang down. And from a bloom stalk. You can see those bloom stalks in those aloes in the picture there. They also can be stemmed or branched or unbranched depending on the types and varieties. And the leaf color can vary from gray to bright green, sometimes even striped or mottled, and we'll show some pictures of that later. Aloes from South Africa are tree-like. This is the South African aloe right here, and you can see they are growing a large stem, and they grow almost into a tree, which sometimes are called tree aloes. Some of the uses for aloe, they're usually frequently cultivated as ornamental plants, which is what we like. They're also nice in gardens and pots. Many aloe species are highly decorative and are valued by collectors of succulents, especially in botanical gardens in warmer climates. The aloe vera is also what most of us have at our homes and what we grew up with. It's used both internally and externally on humans as folk or alternative medicine. We use it quite often for burns. It does cool sunburn and a burn. And the plant's gel can be made into lots of soaps and skin and care products, which if you go to the store, you'll see aloe vera in a lot of products. Some historical uses, although there are about 500 species, only a few were actually used in traditional and herbal medicines. Aloe vera is the primary one used in for medical purposes. It's most common also aloe perii and aloe furrow, which I mentioned furrow earlier. The ancient Greeks and Romans used aloe to treat wounds, which was to keep them from drying out and cracking. In the Middle Ages, the yellowish gel and leaves was also used as a purgative. I don't know if you've ever tasted aloe. It doesn't taste very good, especially that yellowish around close to the actual surface of the leaf there. And then unprocessed aloe contains aloin, and that was used as a laxative until the FDA banned it in 2009. So you could actually buy aloe in a jug with aloin in it. It was used as a laxative, but no longer. We also have aloes that are used for flavorings. We have aloe perii, which was pictured on your last slide. We have aloe barbadensis or aloe vera, which is what we know there. It says first picture to the left, but it's actually the middle picture there. That is the aloe that's a small aloe that we keep around. Most of us do for burns. It's the one that multiplies really rapidly but doesn't make a very large plant. Then we have aloe furrow, which is pictured on the slide to the right there. And then we also have hybrids of these that are out there. We have aloe africana, which is pictured on slide 4, and aloe spicata, which was pictured on the last picture to the left. So there's lots of different aloes out there. We'll talk more of those in a minute. So the difference between an aloe is a succulent, not a cactus. Aloes don't tolerate, or aloes or succulents don't tolerate much frost. Especially aloes, they're considered a houseplant in Kentucky. The difference between a succulent and a cactus is a cactus has an areole there. You can see on that picture there on the left of the slide there. An areole is where the actual spines come out, and it's also where growth takes place. And if you look on the next picture there, there's a succulent. It has little spikes or little raised areas on the leaves that are sharp, but they're not actually spines, and it does not have areoles. Another thing about this is all cactuses are succulents, but not all succulents are cactus. It's kind of a way to you can take that away from this. As far as light goes, aloes do prefer bright light indoors generally, or south or west facing windows work best. Artificial light will work as well. I personally do like to take my aloes out in the summer, but don't give them too much direct sunlight, especially too soon. The leaves will redden or turn yellow, and that's not a problem. It's just the plant's response to light. If you don't like that, pull them back into the shade and they'll change back. Some of us like our aloes bright green, but you'll notice later on when I show you pictures of some of these, many of these in full sun are a different color than they are as an indoor plant or in the shade. If you do take them out, be sure to start them out in shade, and then when first taking them outside, because they will sunburn, and also make sure you don't take them out until after cold weather has passed. As far as containers for aloes, it is important to choose the right container. Aloes tend to be very heavy plants because they are holding a lot of moisture or a lot of water in those leaves and the gel in the leaves, and that can make the plant heavy, and they can tip over quite easily. So I like to either have a heavy pot to start with, or add some gravel or something to the bottom of it to make it heavier. Personally, I prefer terracotta pots for a couple reasons. First off, the pot's a little heavier, and the second is it's porous and it allows it to dry out faster. So if you were to overwater, you've got a better chance of keeping that from getting a root rot because that pot itself will whip water away. Make sure your containers have drainage holes. That's a big thing because the easiest way to kill an aloe is to overwater. As far as potting mix for aloes, you can use any potting mix. You could use regular potting soil if you would like. I personally prefer something like this pre-mixed cactus formula, only because if you do overwater, it's got a lot of sand in it, and it'll drain a lot faster and it'll dry out a little quicker if you were to overwater. If you're not worried that you'll overwater, then you can use any potting mix that you like. Some general care, you want to place your aloes in bright indirect sunlight or artificial light. Western or southern window is ideal. The aloes that are kept in low light often grow leggy, and you can see in that picture there, that plant is not getting enough sun, so it's kind of starting to stretch. Aloes Vera do best in temperatures between 55 and 80 degrees, which is pretty much the temperature of most homes and apartments, which is not ideal temperature for them. From May through September, you can bring your plants outdoors without any problems, but do bring them back inside when the evening starts. Temperatures start to get down into the low 50s. You don't want them really go into the 40s because that can discolor the leaves as well. You want to water your aloe plants deeply but infrequently. Again, these are succulents, so they absorb a lot of water once they're watered, but they don't need it very often. So to discourage rot, allow the soil to dry at least 1 to 2 inches between waterings. Don't let your plant sit in water ever. Some of my larger aloes, I have brought them in winter and not watered them the entire winter. They did start to shrivel, but they were just fine once I took them back out and started watering them again. You want to water about every 3 weeks or even more sparingly during the winter. Again, like I said, some of my larger ones I went the entire winter. The smaller plants, you wouldn't want to go that long, obviously. You want to use your finger to test the dryness. You also can kind of pick the pot up and tell whether it's very dry as well. Also, you want to fertilize sparingly, no more than once a month. These succulent plants are from a sandy soil in their native habitats, and those soils don't carry a lot of nutrients, and these plants grow quite fine without a lot of nutrients. If you do want to fertilize, you can through spring and summer with a balanced houseplant formula at about half strength. They just don't need that full strength formula. As far as repotting and propagating, if you click one of these links, one is my YouTube channel, the other is our Facebook page. If you go to either one of those, it's the same video, but if you click those, you'll see a video I did back in the winter on repotting one of my large aloes, and I talk about repotting it and propagating off the pup. So if you're interested in that, click one of those links and you'll be able to see that. Aloes do bloom. Most of our aloes in our homes don't bloom. If you take them out, you have a better chance. But if you do want your aloes to bloom, and they are pretty when they're in bloom, it doesn't hurt the plant. It's not like some of the other succulents that die after they bloom. These don't. They grow quite well after blooming. You do want to provide it with as much light as possible, especially during spring and summer. Aloes can be kept outdoors in full sun during the summer, but again, acclimate them to that full sun. When your temperatures are about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, don't take them out when it's any colder than that. And then when the nighttime temperatures threaten to drop below 50, bring them inside as well. One note, don't move your aloe from indoors to full sun right away. Again, let those acclimate slowly to that full sun area because these will sunburn. We call them burn plants, but they will sunburn. So just keep that in mind. So some better options or more options to get your plants to bloom. You want to make sure the plant is getting the right amount of water, enough to keep it from drying out completely, but not enough to drown it. Again, don't give them too much water because they will rot. If the plant's being kept outdoors, make sure that it's not getting consistently soaked by summer rains. That's another issue that we can face here in Kentucky. We can have spells where it rains and rains and rains for 2 or 3 weeks, and these plants, even in pots outside, can rot. Give your aloe a proper dormancy period in the fall and winter. Basically, just kind of back off on them. Don't feed them as much or any, and don't water them much. Aloe tend to bloom in late winter or early spring, so giving them a period of rest uh, is in, consisting of less frequent waters and cooler temperatures can encourage them to flower. It's kind of like them going through their dormancy period they would have in their native habitat, which would be winter, shorter days, less rain. Don't be surprised if it still doesn't flower. These are notoriously hard to flower, so just don't give up, but don't get discouraged if it doesn't flower. Many times they just won't flower for a myriad of reasons, but most especially because we're treating them as houseplants and they're not in their native habitat. A few problems that you might face. This is a mealybug, and you can see in that slide there the little white masses that they produce. They're covered with a little white cottony mass. These are notoriously hard to control until recently when we had some new insecticides that came out. As far as trying to organically control them, there's really not much other than taking a Q-tip and dipping it in rubbing alcohol and dabbing on each one of these little insects to kill them, which you're never going to get them fully under control that way because they keep laying eggs. The most foolproof way is to apply Bayer Advance for houseplants, which is a systemic. You just water the plant, it goes up in the plant, and then it will kill the mealybugs. One thing to keep in mind, though, if you're using your aloe as a burn plant or whatever, you're going to want to avoid using that for probably six months or more, that gel, because that insecticide does go up in the plant and stays up in there for quite a long time. As far as organic controls with insecticidal soaps and those things, they don't work very well on these because they have that cottony covering over their bodies. Another problem is slide says mealybugs, but that's not mealybugs. That is scale. That scale there you can see is little raised areas. There's little insects under there, and they're stuck to that leaf. They can't be controlled very well organically either because they have that covering on their backs with that wax coating, and it just runs off. This one is also one that was horribly hard to control before, but now with Bayer Advance for house plants, you can water the plant. It'll go up in to the plant, and it will kill those scale that way quite easily. Just keep in mind, though, again, you don't want to use that gel from those plants that have been treated with that. Other problems you might find are root rots, soft rots, leaf rots, all of those. Some of them are fungal, some of them are bacterial. Doesn't matter which one they are. The only way to control and avoid these is to not overwater. So all of these problems are pretty much completely avoidable as for you as a houseplant owner. Is just to make sure that plant does not get overwatered. The root can rot off, and you can see in the middle picture there, that's a leaf rot. That's going to probably rot that stem and then turn into the next rot, which is a soft rot there on the last picture. But the way to control these is do not overwater. Generally speaking, once a plant has some of these issues, that plant's probably going to die, and you're probably going to be out looking for another aloe plant somewhere. So what's out there? There are thousands of varieties of aloe out there, but the few aloe, I'm going to run through just some of the actually the not necessarily the varieties, but the actual family, because there's varieties that within all of these families that are just, it's a multitude. So we're going to talk, just run through a few of these, what's out there where you can see the different leaf shapes and colors and things that are out there. The first one there is lace aloe, aloe aristate, easy for me to say. And you can see that it has that little lacy ribs on the leaves there. It's kind of nice. And then we have the golden tooth aloe, and you can see that it kind of folds up, and it'll fold up more when it's dry and open up a little more when it's wetter. And it has the little golden teeth on the ends of on the ends of the leaves there. We have the tiger tooth aloe, aloe juvena. That one is a really nice one, and you'll see different varieties of those out there. Some of them a little shorter, some longer, but a really nice one. If you like that green color of aloe instead of the bluish or the reds, that's a nice one. And then the next picture there's a short-leafed aloe, aloe brevifolia. That one is really neat. It has really short, fat leaves, and it stays pretty compact, thick plant, but not taking up a lot of space. And there's a lot of varieties of that one out there as well. That one's sometimes even called dwarf aloe. We have sunset aloe, aloe dorothea. That one is just a plant, an aloe that is got reddish leaves, but you can see the new foliage down in the center there. More of a chartreuse color. It's a good variation in colors there. The next picture there is the red aloe, or aloe cameronii. That one has really long, skinny red leaves on it. And it is more of a big aloe, probably not suited for a house plant unless you've got a large window for it to really sprawl in. Then we have the spiral aloe there. You can see on the picture on the left, aloe polyphylla. That one is really neat. There's lots of different varieties out there, different colors of them, but that one just grows in that spiral shape, and that'll keep that spiral shape for the life of the plant, which is kind of really neat geometrical shape. Then we have the sand aloe, aloe herontii, easy for me to say again. We'll just leave it at sand aloe for today. But you can see that was a really nice plant too. It's a rather large plant. It looks really nice in landscapes, which we can't have here in Kentucky, but it's really nice in containers if you've got a large window for it to sit in. Then we have the Malagasy tree aloe, another one of those we probably can't grow here. Well, we could for a few seasons until it got too large. But it's the one that grows into the tree shape with a large trunk. And then we've got the snake aloe there. And you can see that has long, skinny leaves, all the way skinny to the end, and has a lot of spines on it. Not sure why they call it snake aloe. It doesn't really look like a snake to me. And maybe whenever whoever found it first, there was some snake spite. Not sure. Another aloe that I really like is the red hot poker aloe, aloe aculeata. That's a really nice one because if you've got it in a large pot and it'll multiply, you have all those reds and yellows and even some purple tips in there. You get a lot of different color variation for that plant. Next over there is the stone aloe, another one of those that if you want to have, you're going to have it in a large window or a large container here. It really does have a thick leaf. Really, the tips of those leaves are really sharp, though. Just keep that in mind. This one is used quite extensively in the desert Southwest as a landscape plant. Then we have the climbing or vining aloe. That one there on the left, I've never seen it bloom. That's the bloom it has. We have one here at the office. It's been here for 3 years in a pot. It's growing quite tall, but it's not really, I wouldn't say it was either climbing or vining, but it can kind of fall over and look like it's starting to vine. Then we have stone aloe again. Not sure why I put that in there twice, but again, that one is for a landscape purpose. So we also have coral aloe. I really like coral aloe because of the stripes on the leaves. And also you can see how those leaves are quite wide and fold back. It's really pretty. And then we have fan aloe, which is for me one of the most unusual ones out there. You can see that leaf shape is flat. It's not round. It's not pointy like the other ones. It's a flat leaf, almost like a mother-in-law's tongue, but fleshy. But it has really pretty stripe down each side of the leaf. Also has some little red lice flowers if you ever get it to bloom. That one's going to be quite hard to find. It's kind of a novelty. So I know I ran through that pretty quick, but I wanted to keep these videos kind of short because we have to load them up to YouTube and to Facebook. Some of them back in the spring were a little longer, but it was just more information with those. I would like to say that for those that did sign up for this class, the Aloes are here. You can stop by during regular business hours, Monday through Friday between 8 and 4:30, and you can pick those up and sign in. If you have any questions, give me a call at the Washington County Extension Office at 859-336-7741. Happy gardening.